Last year, we as a team pushed ourselves to the absolute limit. And in fact, we spent over 7 months getting ready and executing at Pikes Peak. We did it. But this year is all about getting everything working and really showing what we are capable of. We are going back to Pikes Peak with the 3-rotor, preparing to kick butt and take names. It's burning beautiful Valvoline. Honestly, you know what that means? The engine's well lubricated, all jokes aside. Just hoping that the housing isn't scratched, which is most likely, but if it isn't, we can reassemble this motor pretty damn quick. It's time for the end of the season refresh. This is one hell of a sight. You have the all-billet 4-rotor, the all-billet 12-rotor, and the all-billet 3-rotor. Now, I beat the absolute crap out of this motor so much so that I'm pretty sure I blew a hole through one of Mazda's rotors. I did that on the 4-rotor, and I've done that now on the 3-rotor, and I know why. It's while I'm shifting. It's not anything else. It's not aggressive tune aside from when I shift. So what we're gonna do is tear this thing apart pretty quick, but I wanted you guys just to appreciate all the blocks together. This is like the brief moment where those two are ready to go. This one still runs, it's just 2/3 of it. And like Joel said, it isn't firing on all rotors. It's trying to. I guess I want it lower. It's hitting the trigger wheel.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Don't drop any of those bolts in the oil.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I hate Allen wrench. That's okay. I love work getting done behind me, but I hate Allen head things because people will over torque them and then it's not even their fault. It'll be like slightly sloppy because of the way the bolt was made in a hurry and you'll just shear it. And so somebody tightened the ever living fuck out of an oil pan bolt and I had to use one of the extractor things to get it out. Something really wild to see is that's what starts happening to your oil when you're over 300 degrees. That's definitely thicker than 2050. There should be no oil back here at all. It might have a little bit of like trace, but like these are in coolant. They're not in oil, so that you would never see oil here. So that leads me to believe that oil is coming out of this rear main seal. The thing that supports that is that we saw pressure in the oil pan. We're gonna have to work over the Henshaw front cover a little bit more. I have no idea what this face looks like.
Oh, you got some stuff on it.
Parts.
The rotor looks okay. From first glance.
Ooh, look at cracked. That side seal's cracked. That makes sense though. The engine detonated. See the swirls on this ring? That shows you how much we need clearance. We had that on the 4-rotor and I had no idea why, but it shows you that the rotors need to be clearanced a little bit because they're hitting. We have one apex seal on this that is flattened. It's been partying pretty hard. Let's see if we can get it to come out. Oh. That's not clearancing these rotors properly. These rotors have been through so much.
Can't tell if they're old dents or new dents.
Yeah, exactly. That was a mistake there, but that whole face is flattened. This is my first time really tearing apart a full billet engine, and so most of the bolts go from front to here, but some of the bolts are shorter. So what we're gonna do is flip it. We need to turn it aside so the guts don't fall out, but if we have it up like this, it's easy to pull this up and get the rotor. So when you're gonna turn it outside, the rotor's gonna puke out the side.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of like this. We should turn it outside. Front bearing looks great. I didn't even prepare the bearings either. Plate's got a little bit of step wear there, not a big problem. Yeah, there we go. That bearing needs more love.
Couple.
That one was,
Ooh.
that's a stock bearing, and I didn't clearance it, and that's what that's showing you.
Oh, these aren't race bearings?
No, that's stock bearing doing 10,000 RPM all the time without any clearancing. What is pop? So now it's getting us down to rotor 2. This is a little contraption I built for the 4-rotor actually. I'm gonna hit this so it pops that. So we're basically putting pressure on this. So these are gonna fall once it all breaks free. Oh, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
That's gotta be free now, no?
No, these would fall off if so, because they're just held onto that piece.
There we go.
You know what this reminds me of? The FC when we pulled it apart the
Yeah,
first time?
this is the FC. No, that's not metal or anything. See how it like just disappeared? I don't know what that is. There we go.
That rotor looks okay, what the heck?
Rotor 3 having the flattened apex seal could have been
The problem?
the problem. I am a cheap bastard and want to save the rotor as well as, probably more importantly, the apex seal. And so it is crushed between these two sides here. You can see this dent is a very interesting dent. It's totally different because you can actually see the rotor hit here and here against the housing. It's not supposed to do that. That's why you'll end up clearancing the rotors way more. So what I did off camera before I got Joel was, so obviously the issue is you take one out and the next one gets stuck. That's why I'm trying to use this one. And then I'm actually gonna try an old OEM one. That's a good sign. You can see it's coming outwards because it's being held in right here. And of course I've destroyed the tip of this, but that's totally worth it. Okay, I
It's
guess.
gonna come out.
Yeah, I guess that's okay. I just didn't want to start marring up the. Oh, come to me. And we're looking for light. You guys probably don't see any light. I don't see any light. This side is probably gonna be pretty flat. That's not really where the problem's at. It's the sides.
Seems okay.
Yeah, it seems okay. Now I have my full set of apex seals. I need to probably rebevel them a little bit, but we have a rotor that's misbehaved. One of the things I do, you can actually take like a scraping tool, basically wiggle it back and forth because it's gonna be tight on the this outer edge, but in deeper, it's not. Try and work that back out. Now, keeping in mind that this metal has moved and will move again easier than a brand new stock rotor, it's still pretty good. Now, the other alternative is just to machine or file all this away. If you were to detonate the motor at full power, you need to check the side clearance here and here because it actually pushes the rotor wide. The apex seal and some of these seals live to die another day. I splurged for New Year's and bought, not a pressure cooker, but an ultrasonic cleaner off of Amazon for next to nothing. And I played myself because I looked at the dimensions and they were just enough to fit a rotor housing or a plate, but I didn't realize that these corners would be radiused and then you'd want a basket inside of it. So what I originally dreamed of was having this fitting in there, not so much, but thankfully the guys pointed out that we can at least either put it like that or whatnot. So clean parts of it, which honestly, my goal is to be able to clean all of the residue out of all of these ports here. See if it can clean the most of the oil off of this. Some of you guys already know what's gonna happen. I don't. The less work we have to do to clean these engines, the better. But
It's the good stuff.
put that much. And then fill the rest up with water. Oh, Jesus Christ, that sounded weird.
Oh, it's doing stuff already.
Whoa. I did not expect it to be that efficient.
Nasty.
Yeah, that's cool. We got that first shot of that. So we're done waiting on the heater, which isn't happening. I threw another piece in here. See what happens. These things are gonna be probably annoying, but it's okay. Kev's the only one next to it. "20 minutes of vibration. It's at 46 C, which is like 110 degrees, somewhere in there. There's some progress. Now you see it's got some vapor coming off of it, so you know it's getting warm. It makes it easier to remove gasket stuff. Thankfully it didn't remove the epoxy. This pocket's the best one. It's taking off a lot of that scaling and stuff that prevents the aluminum from really transferring the heat fully. You can see it basically between these two. One's not just wet, it actually, with enough time, I think it'll look more like that. So I can see where this has a big benefit, at least cleaning these holes out without manual labor. It is time to rebuild the trusty Stallion, and what really stopped the show is this right here. You can tell the rotor hit the housing and pinched the apex seal inward, and that's what you heard was just these two faces were always in communication. So one of the very first things I wanted to do was look at how much weight they are. Now there's still a little bit of oil in here, but I've been running these rotors for, I don't know, 8 years or so, and I wanted to see 43, 42, so 4,340, 4354, and 43.
Oh, they were
60.
pretty.
I told Joel's a hater, by far the biggest hater I've got, and he was like, "Oh, it was just balance."
What?
I don't know. I wasn't listening. The point is that I knew that these rotors are actually already pretty close, and
So you can rerun these.
I could rerun these, but we got something else a little special. We're gonna go check those out and see if they can be thrown into the mix without having to rebalance everything. Mazda does currently make rotors. I bought them from Mazda Tricks.
Whoa, new rotor
Brand
unboxing.
new rotor unboxing.
In a cylinder.
Basically $1,000. Not like special price, that's literally what you go to Mazda Tricks and get. These are actually currently being manufactured, and Mazda couldn't help it and did things differently to these rotors than they did to the original ones. So you can see like the lightning pockets aren't just like a bunch of circles drilled into it, they're milled out shapes. And so the balancing is one of the very first things you notice. They just look different. Now they still have to behave properly because they're going into replacement engine. The other ones had tons of, machining marks. These pockets are very smooth.
You get bearings.
Yeah, brand new bearings, brand new gears. Apples to apples, let's see how much this thing weighs. 4360, yeah, so we could throw these into rotation with some side cleansing. So I do want to throw this into the CNC machine and take this, at the very least, take the tips down even more. Here's rotor number 2. You can actually see the galvanized look of the zinc coating, which galvanized steel is zinc coated steel. Hell yeah. So that's 4360. Definitely a positive for getting rotors from Mazda. So let's see, this is the third one. 4360. You're spending a lot more now with Mazda, but you're also getting a slightly higher quality product. I will take that, considering there's no other options. But we could clearance these and slap them right into our Pikes Peak monster. I have been bothered by this for a while, and so I decided to take the bearing pusher puller from E&J and utilized it in a plate just like that. So nice and tight, and then this is centered. These two are holding it in. I went in 1/4 of an inch so it can hold the rotor, and we can now machine the rotors more stably and less wobble than before. One of the biggest problems is when you take 1,000th off of something, 1,000th out here to 1,000th here, it's gonna miss. 2,000ths here, nothing here, and then I look like a hack, but worse than I normally am. In this case, it's centered off of the bearing itself. This piece is obviously machined well, and everybody wins. So let me throw a rotor in there and see what this does. This is gonna stay 5,000ths higher than this. And that's actually kind of a safeguard. This will prevent the steels from getting flattened, crushed, and then they're stuck and the motor's dead. We are skipping a lot of steps just to keep it fresh and interesting, and Joel gets bored really quickly, so we have to baby him. The 3-rotor is back into full production. This is our workhorse. It's going to Pikes Peak, and we've learned a lot about how to make an engine run at high endurance, high power, high heat, high stress. Very, very happy with the Billet Pro plates. Those, even when I pushed them in wrong, still not a single problem. I actually did take the rotors down. Look at how nice and consistent, concentric. This piece is up 5,000ths from this. Not only that, we also have done something a little special. This ring right here was taken down by my friend Dave, who now allows me to hold this bearing on both sides. This goes on to the normal E-shaft right here. There's one kind of flaw to this design, and the same thing on the 4-rotor technically, is that this can walk. And sure enough, you can actually see from the heat from before, the taper was actually just creating a lot of friction and heat. I have this already pushed down as hard as it'll go, but we're gonna have to increase that torque. That said, if we're holding this lobe on both sides, it can't do this. This actually has a ball bearing that will make this thing a little bit faster, and it's going to sit right next to this one. How are you going to fit two bearings next to each other? That's what the humming is in the back of the shot. Let's go take a look at where this is going to go. Joel had a good point to show you the before and after. This is the stock three-rotor lobe, and then this is what we've machined off of that. Three-rotor E-shaft sits through here. That's rotor 2's bearing, but then this will go inside of here with a roller bearing, a ball bearing, right there. So this plate's about 100 degrees, not too hot yet, but we're going to go ahead and set that bearing inside of there. And so as we install it, we build the two rotor back here first. This sticks up, and then plop this on, sits inside of that bearing, and basically the bearing's like insurance. It's almost touching at all times, but it's not. So if it starts to bend, it'll engage the roller bearing. Some of you sharp-eyed guys are going to notice that's not a race for a bearing. It's this E-shaft. Well, the race for the bearing actually takes almost half of this material away, and I'd rather fuck this up over time and then have to grind it down anyway. So I'm going to use this as the bearing race. This is all the way in. It's got a really wide outer race, so the bearing looks like it's not sitting all the way in, but it actually is. There's a snap ring on the inside, and then we're going to put a snap ring on the outside and make sure that the gap allows oil to go down into the oil butthole. So,
ooh, thick snap ring.
Yeah, they're huge. Yeah, that's as far as it's going to go.
So now we can take it up to 12,000 RPM.
19,000 RPM. Joel made the mistake of leaving right at an important time. He's getting food, but it is down to Rob and Rob to start this three-rotor engine build. So pretty straightforward. A couple small changes from how it ran before. One is that I made the oil sprayers on the E-shaft bigger, so race ones, so it's spraying more oil into the rotors to cool them. Now that we know that it's the thing that gets hottest, there's an oil pressure regulator spraying extra oil into the oil pan. Well, we're not going to let that do that anymore. We're going to have the oil regulator be outside of the motor, allow the vacuuming process to work well. We've got the 3 brand new rotors all set, ready to go. We've done our dotting our I's and crossed our T's. We're building a 2-rotor up this way, flipping it, and then putting the 1 rotor down on the bottom. It's install time. It's kind of a bummer. Joel did actually end up making it back. But you know what? He's the one that's going to build the engine, and I'm going to film.
Nah, we're good. You want to make it up the mountain?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. The camera work's going to get better again because his tips sway way smooth. Yeah, mine are binding up, so I'm going to let the pro do his.
Knees crack.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay, yeah. Here. Let's just. 100% guarantee. I'm gonna try something the slightest bit different on this engine. This is like a mixture between Hylamar and normal gasket maker. Because these things are so flat and we have a dry sump system, I'm going to use this on the legs instead of traditional just RTV. Rob's already preloaded a lot of the coolant seals, and the best part is these are the ones from the motor. I thought for sure these aftermarket ones would have swelled. They kind of did a little bit, but this engine's seen 250 degree coolant and 280 degree oil, so kind of impressed here. I can tell it does dry a little bit. It's definitely not Hylamar, but I hope it stays wet enough to squeeze and stay flat.
Brand new rotor.
Brand new rotors, properly clearanced for this engine. Got 3 for 3 coming up. Excellent. This. Okay. And we'll keep our fingers in here, just kind of that.
A little bit more.
Just make sure all the O-rings.
Yeah, watch it from this angle.
How's this RTV look? Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, there it goes. Oh, that is the worst one I've ever done. The tips of these solid dowels are slightly deformed, and I did not address that or test it. It totally affects the flow of everything. So we had to back up a little bit because those two things were just absolutely destroying this motor, and more importantly, I forgot to put these spacers into, this is the most important one in the entire engine. So the problem is the bolt's only 1/2 inch and this is 16 millimeters, which is 5/8. So it would have all that space to detonate and then apex seals fall out and then shatter and life sucks. I'm gonna make sure I put these in the spaces here. Why are these all that big? Well, because the original engine with these housings was 16 millimeter dowel bolts. Just when you think that was the hardest part of this, it actually gets to the scariest part now. So we've built the 2-rotor on this side. I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over. So what I'm gonna do now is cook the tapers, get all the oil off of those, put this on, and I actually might torque the whole front section on so this lobes in properly, and make sure that we have some end play when we're done. That's just so everybody watching this knows this is not good. So unfortunately, it was a simple mistake. The guy helping me clearance it left the keyway up here on and went to pull everything off, and it tore up a lot of shit. Okay, so these are the 2 front dowels. What's that noise? Oh, it's all the little
dowel thing?
spacers. Yeah. Oh,
That's hilarious.
I was starting to go, that's metal on metal. That's not good. That was really easy to do. Just for any of you guys that are thinking about doing your own engine at some point, just know that you can even still have bad days when you've done 1 through 12 rotors and still can get tripped up on the engine you know the most. We're gonna get this whole thing put back into the car. I'm super happy because even with all the bullshit, we have another bearing in the middle of this engine, and I think that it's gonna come in really handy when we're pushing this thing to the limit.